Welcome to Straight Out of the Herf Zone. Is this mic on? Last week I had some audio issues, so I have that corrected this week. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. This week I have an extra special guest on the show. He is a rep. He reps a bunch of different cigar companies. We're gonna hear his life story. This is probably his first podcast he's been on. Definitely the first time on this show. Definitely will not be the last. So without further ado, waiting patiently down below is Mr. Pedro Wagner. Pedro, what's up, brother?
How are you, Mike? How's it going, man?
I am good. Yeah, I
Thanks,
was.
thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. It's something I wanted to happen, and we managed to finally make it happen. So, uh, I know it's too cold for you to smoke outside, and I thought this was going to be the one opportunity to be able to get you to smoke. But you definitely have a pass because we can't have you freezing to death. We need you in these streets.
Hey, exactly. Thank you, man. We'll have a smoke day up at the shop one day. All right.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So what I'm smoking right now is one of my favorites from the Debonair line, the Debonair Habano. Like this cigar, this flavor pops on this cigar, and it's amazing. So I was like, I got to start off with this for the show tonight
Well,
because I
thank you.
don't
No,
smoke them enough. So every time I smoke it, it just continues to amaze me. So
good, good, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's a very good, well-made and refined cigar made by the Reyes family factory in Santiago, Dominican Republic.
amen. Yeah, this is awesome. So we're gonna jump right into the podcast because I like to get to know the guests. I like to just let them tell their life story and and basically see how they got to where they got to. So let's just start from the very beginning since you've never been on the show. You're originally from New York, right?
Yes, I grew up in New York City. Started off in Brooklyn. Actually, I was born in Bed-Stuy
Oh
and
snap!
moved out of Bed-Stuy. I think I was about 5 years old. We moved to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, which at the time was just prior to everything was going in Vietnam. So it was the neighborhood was up and down, but then it turned really bad after the guys started coming back from Vietnam. Grew up there, like right by the Lower East Side. Uh, Manhattan was just over the Williamsburg Bridge. Actually, I couldn't afford to move back to Williamsburg. Now, when I was growing up there, it was a rough neighborhood, and now it's like the most popular neighborhood in all of New York City. Now, everybody
Yeah,
seems to go there. Everybody seems to love it, but it was a different place when I grew up there.
awesome. Yeah. So your childhood, like, what kind of stuff did you like to do back in the day? Were you like typical, run around, get in trouble type kid? Were you a goody two shoes? Tell us about that.
Well, back in the day, that would we there weren't many really like you would call out here in Florida parks. What we it was more in a yard or it was blacktop or concrete that we played in, and at that time the city was on a downward turn. It wasn't really like it is now, with nice parks. Everything was the parks that we had were broken down, broken glass. They weren't plastic bottles, they were glass bottles. So kids had nothing to do. They would throw bottles in the parks and break them, and then all you had was broken glass throughout the all the parks where you played in. And if you played softball or any kind of, stickball and stuff, you had to slide on concrete that was filled with glass. And even the parks that had swings or anything, any kind of playground type of items, they were kind of half functioning, half broken down. So it wasn't always the greatest place. We didn't always have the greatest parks. We played in on rooftops, on fire escapes. We got into a lot of trouble. Yeah, it wasn't a goody two shoe type of location. I mean, if we had balls or a basketball or a football, we tried to play as much. The football was in the street or in a small lot. Same thing with baseball or softball. We played in little lots or in the street wherever we could, and it wasn't easy. To go to a nice park, we had to take a long walk, and to get out of the neighborhood, it wasn't the greatest. Williamsburg at that time was kind of rough, a lot of gangs, so you had to go through from one neighborhood to the next. You had to walk through another gang's territory. Each block had a different gang, so it wasn't always fun doing that. So won't get too
Yeah,
much
most.
into those situations, but yeah, it was rough.
Mm, that's what's up. So did you end up going to college and stuff like that, or did you decide nah?
Uh, um, s- uh, I didn't let the neighborhood overtake me. And to be a success in the neighborhood that I came from, you stayed out of jail and you didn't die of drugs or get shot in the street. So basically, I mean, I wasn't the greatest student, but I tried a little bit more. I wanted to do a little bit more because I didn't want to die in the streets, and I didn't want to become a bum. So I went to school. I wasn't the best student. I was far from that. Uh, I was able to go to a decent high school in Brooklyn. Went to Brooklyn Tech. I wasn't. I was probably out of 4,000 students. I was probably 3,999 in that school. So I didn't do too well in there, but I did graduate eventually after some time, and then I liked art. I liked being in arts, doing art, uh,
What kind of art?
drawing. I like drawing. I decided I wanted to go into interior design. I don't know why. When I was in high school, I liked the art classes because it's the classes had the most girls in them. So that was
Yeah,
part of the reason. And then I liked fashion also. I liked to dress. I didn't have much money growing up, so whenever I had an opportunity to see nice clothes or do something, I really, really liked that. So I went to FIT in New York City, and I took up interior design. I did that. I was there for 3 years. I got an associate, but I never went beyond that. And worked wherever I can. I worked. I worked in the village, and when I was in high school, I worked with my father. He got me a job in his apartment building where he was working. Um, Whatever I could, I worked. And then I kind of got a few jobs in interior design. Uh, it was okay. It wasn't always the greatest. Um, and then I hooked up with a guy, and we became partners. And we did woodwork and design work, and we had a few decent customers, and it went pretty okay for a while. And the '80s ended, and when the '80s ended, our clientele dried up, so it was kind of difficult for me at that point. And then through relationships and people that I knew, I kind of got offered a position at Davidoff, and so I took it. And Davidoff was brand new at the time. They had the store on Madison between 54th and 55th Street on the east side of Madison. It was right in the middle of the block. And when I went in there, I figured, okay, well, I'm gonna, help kind of run the store. When I walked in, they gave me a couple of shopping bags and told me to go deliver the cigars. And I put my tail between my legs. I grabbed the bags and I went to deliver the cigars. I did what I was told. While I was doing that and helping out at the store and working around there, I saw an opportunity. It was just before the cigar boom. It was in '94, late '94. And I would go to the locations that had a Davidoff Grand Reserve humidor, and I saw an opportunity there because they weren't very well maintained. They were ordering a lot of cigars at the time through all the locations because it was just getting before it was getting popular, just before the boom. And I wrote a proposal to the president of the company at the time and told him I'd like to take care of the Grand Reserve accounts, for the restaurants and hotels throughout New York City, and he accepted it, and I handled that out of the Davidoff store in New York, and but then they moved me up to the Stamford, Connecticut. They had headquarters, which was at that time in Stamford, Connecticut, and I worked out of there. Went and had a kind of like a 30-mile radius around New York City, and handled hotels, restaurants, country clubs, and clubs in the city. And boom, the cigar boom hit. I mean, whew, it was an explosion at that time, early '95. And I remember the manager of the store at the time was George Brightman, and he was very in with Marvin Shankin. Marvin Shankin was coming into the store and trying to recruit him to get him to work for him. And if you look at all the early issues of Cigar Aficionado at the time, most of the pictures in there with the ashtrays and the cigars and the lighters and the cutters, it was all Davidoff accessories. And at the time, I remember I helped out at Christmas time, one Christmas at the Davidoff store, and we had to lock the door. And in December, people waiting outside,
Oh wow.
a line around the block to come in. I mean, it was just at the height of the boom. People, it was insanity. Every news station in New York was doing stories on cigar smoking and cigar lounges, and every restaurant, every hotel wanted to have cigars because everybody was asking for them, and it was just incredible at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome to to live through the boom, the first boom, because we're in like a second boom now. But you kind of got ahead, so I'm gonna go and back it up a little bit because you talked about your time at Davidoff. But how did you personally get into smoking cigars? Was it just getting into the industry that you got into it, or
It
like
was
talk
just
about your?
no, it was just by knowing a few people that worked for Davidoff, was in Davidoff, and the I used to go to the president of Davidoff at the time because the company was pretty small then. And I used to go, for holidays and special occasions. He would invite the employees and people that he knew to his house. And, we just got into talking, and my things weren't going good in my business. So he offered me the position.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm just talking about not like being in the cigar business, but the act of smoking cigars for pleasure. Like, how did you get into that?
I got into it by working in it.
Okay, so
Okay,
it
it
wasn't
wasn't a love first of cigars that got me into the business. It
okay.
was the love of being able to pay my bills and not starving to death that got me into the cigar business.
Yeah, so into smoking. So you weren't smoking cigars prior to entering the business. That's what I'm
No,
trying to.
the funny thing about that my grandfather was a very, very heavy cigar smoker, and you wouldn't recognize him if he didn't have a cigar in his mouth.
Yep.
And that it was almost like it was in the blood. He that's all he smoked. He smoked cigars on a constant basis.
Yeah, that's
And I
awesome.
I just I just got to specialize in cigars by servicing an account and learning. At the early days with Davidoff, you had to learn everything. How to light a cigar properly, how to cut a cigar properly, how to store a cigar properly. It wasn't like it is now. It was and Davidoff at that time, the accessories were pretty unique. It was before the Chinese market opened up and started reproducing and copying everything at a very inexpensive rate. Back then, when you bought Davidoff humidor or lighters and cutters from anybody else, they were relatively expensive.
Yeah. Now, so once you got into cigars through working for Davidoff and during the cigar boom, were you just a casual cigar smoker once you got into it, or did you smoke quite a bit?
No, I was always occasional. Um, I never used a cigar as a prop, going into a shop, with the cigar in my mouth or showing that I always had a cigar or I was always smoking a cigar. For me, to smoke a cigar was to sit down, spend time with somebody I knew and somebody who also appreciates smoking, and be able to converse, have something to go along with it, and spend a good time. I didn't believe in just, puffing away in a cigar while I was walking, or, you know, uh, going through places from one location to another. For me, a cigar was an occasion, was
Yeah,
something to really sit down and enjoy and be able to spend time on it.
absolutely. And do you feel like people today that are in the cigar business or just consumers in general? Do you feel like we just smoke too much? It's just become a thing like to do just to do.
No, I mean, if you have a love of a cigar, I was very good friends with Avo Uvezian, and Avo would tell me, he says, Pedro, I have to have a cigar. I need it. I tell him, I said, no, Avo, it relaxes you. I see the difference when you're smoking and when you're not smoking. It's a big difference. And he would say, yeah, if it's like that, where you need to have a cigar, you love it so much that you have to have it to, and you really, every time a cigar, you light a cigar and cut a cigar, it's you're enjoying yourself, then it's fine. For me though, I need to sit down just like I do with people. I mean, you know how I am. I like to sit down with you. I like to talk. I like to communicate. I like to share things, and that's part of how I would smoke a cigar. I'm not just a guy that's just going to light any cigar and just okay, well, I let me see, or let me try this. No, I'm going to sit down. It's going to be an occasion for me.
Awesome, like a awesome event, kind of like right now. This is an occasion, sitting down,
Yeah, it's an
having you
occasion.
on the
We're spending
podcast.
time together. We're enjoying each other's company. That's how I relate cigar smoking, to an event. You know, like
Absolutely,
an event. Where when you enjoy a good liquor, a good cigar, a good meal. That's part of how I would do it. And also, I don't drink at all.
yeah,
I never did. I don't drink beer. I don't drink wine. Nothing. So for me, it's I'm not uh, you know what things a habit I have is almost to none.
yeah. Now let me ask you this: when it comes to cigar pairings, being that you don't drink alcohol, um, is there any type of beverage that's non-alcoholic that you like to pair with cigars?
I like what I like to have when I have a cigar is just sparkling water with a lime in it. I find that keeps my palate clean, and gives me the opportunity to be able to enjoy something that I'm smoking.
Awesome. I just like to drink regular water most of the time because smoking cigars kind of dries your mouth out and in a way. So I just try to stay hydrated, and especially with the amount that I smoke. So
Yeah,
nothing like good
you
old
you go
water.
from one to another, from one cigar to another.
Yeah.
And in all actuality, it shouldn't be a good cigar. The proper cigar that you enjoy shouldn't be drying out your mouth. It should be stimulating the saliva glands in
Well, a
your
lot
mouth.
of them do, but I'm just saying, like, just going back and forth, and then I'm like, I usually have some coffee or something in order to reset my palate.
Hmm.
It's more so of I need to make sure I'm making sure that I'm hydrated throughout the day. It's probably not even the cigar, it's just the busyness of when I'm working and stuff like that, you
Yes,
know,
yes, yeah. Yeah,
it's just what it
that's
is.
one of the things I won't do. I'm not gonna, if I'm not sitting down and able to enjoy, conversation and company and a cigar, I won't smoke.
Yeah, most definitely. So after Davidoff, did you have any other role in the cigar business, or did you did you take some time off?
I was no, I was 25 years with Davidoff, and when well, we parted ways, and Davidoff, it's what, about 6 years ago. Um, I mean, it was seamless. I left Davidoff, and I went straight with the Reyes family. I got in contact with Phil Zangi. They were definitely interested, and Jean Michel, who who is the general manager. He runs the uh,
The
the
factory's
factory.
awesome
Yeah, the
guy.
factory. Yes, the Reyes factory in DR. So I first got in contact with them, and then from there I grew with them and started, representing the brands, all the brands that were made in in that factory. So it was also Patoro, Topper, Casa de Sueños, Debonair, Saga, and Don Julio.
Yes, and all those cigars are amazing cigars. I'm not, me and you have talked about this, in person, but Topper's not my favorite of them, but everything else is. I think Debonair is my favorite. Then Don Julio, then Casa
Well,
de Sueños.
remember, I'm a
But
salesman, so Topper may not be your favorite now, whichever one that you've smoked, but we'll get to some one of the toppers that you will like.
yeah, most definitely, and
Yeah, 'cause,
I,
yeah,
I
I
I
don't
always give my
stop until I
honest opinion.
succeed. Yeah. But
But
we'll get to where you need to go with that. But all of the cigars, and this is the great thing about the Reyes factory, is that everything that's made there and all the cigars have a completely different texture and taste and uh, feeling about them. None of them have a similarity.
yeah,
Um, I can't say that about every factory because I haven't smoked every cigar from every factory, but I've heard that certain factories and certain cigar manufacturers tend to, whatever they produce, they seem to produce about this the same, or different varieties and variations of blends, but you could always tell which one comes from where, unless it's a completely different tobacco. I find that the Rays are completely different. You can't even tell that they're from the same factory.
yeah.
Then again, I might just be partial.
Yeah, but as somebody that's a consumer and also somebody that's in the business, somebody that smoked a lot of cigars from the Reyes family's factory, every single brand is definitely has a different feel to it, has different tastes. Like you if you smoke a debonair, it's not gonna taste the same as a Patoro or a Don Julio, and that's you're absolutely right. There's many different factors. You could smoke a cigar and it could be a different brand, but from the same factory. You'd be like, oh, this is from that factory. Like the Foundation cigar, the Wiseman, the rebranded one that's now done at the My Father factory. You could smoke that cigar and like, I taste this being from the My Father factory. Just for an example,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's
I mean, there are variations and differences throughout the factories. We can't say that oh they're all the same, but there are similarities, and they have a type. They try to be consistent in their taste and flavor. However, they try to be able to manufacture something that everybody can enjoy.
oh, absolutely. And so how long have you been with the Reyes family, repping all the brands now?
But
Been about
it's been six and a half years, about a little bit
okay.
over, over 6 years now. We started just prior to the COVID shutdown, so that was a little bit rough time. What I find the difference, 25 years with Davidoff, even Davidoff in the beginning, it wasn't easy because it wasn't a known brand. The big brand in Florida at the time when I came down, after being in New York for about 7 years, when I came down to Florida, the big brand was General Macanudo. I mean,
Yeah.
they ruled the market back then, and it was just unbelievable. What they sold. So it was, it took a while. It took years to develop the Davidoff business because Davidoff itself wasn't a big seller, and in the early 2000s. There were other brands, Avo, Griffin, Private Stock, Zeno. Those were the brands that they had, and the big seller for them also was the Davidoff Mini Cigarillos.
Oh yeah.
That was a surprisingly big seller for them at the time. So it took time. It took a lot of effort. and to build the brand. So after I left them, I mean, I came to a brand that wasn't as recognized as Davidoff, because Davidoff, put a lot of time, effort, marketing, and money into building the brands. So,
Yeah.
and then in the process, also, I believe in 2008, they purchased Camacho and Cusano.
Yep. Now coming to the Reyes family and starting to, you're basically starting from scratch. You're working with brands that don't have that same recognition. Like Debonair probably had the most recognition because I knew about them 10 years, almost probably like 10 years ago now on the West Coast when they
Right.
had, some distribution through Drew Estate. And I was smoking the Debonair Habano back then. And I didn't see it again until Smoke Rings carried it. But like just coming into that new situation, what has it been like to, grind day in and day out? Like, and how long is it take? Is it taking the whole time to really see that recognition for all the brands that you represent?
Um, because of when you have boutique brands and there's no name recognition, you get a lot of people, they hear the name, I've never heard of it, and that's like, I explained to them, well, before you walked into this humidor, I never heard about you either. So that's for
That's a
me.
good line. I like that.
Yeah, I've never heard about you either, but before you came in here. So that's but it takes, people, especially cigar smokers, they're creatures of habit. They tend to smoke the same thing. And at one time it used to be, the Bible was cigar aficionado, where people would walk in with the either a page or the actual magazine and say, I want this cigar. Do you have this cigar? And I'll be pretty kind about it, but I'd say about 70% of the people, I don't know if they can distinguish too much between one cigar to the other. The only thing that they know is that it tastes good. They
Yeah.
really can't tell where what type of tobacco it is, or what notes it has. That people have to develop their palate, and I don't think very many cigar smokers are that sophisticated when it comes to their actual palate.
Yeah, most
And
definitely.
uh,
And
and
that's why
and
people like me exist because
yes.
people they have the drive to want to develop their palate, and then what you got to do is just find out where they started. And and me and you, for the audience watching, me and Pedro, we work together quite a bit. He comes into our shop, and we just we just find out what people like. If we could get them to try one of his brands based on what they like to smoke, and then normally we we'll have people coming back and buying again. It's all about getting the cigar into people's hands. But like,
on a constant basis, because I'm
yeah,
sorry to say one time doesn't do it, because you'll
yeah.
get a lot of people, they'll come in, they'll smoke the cigar, they'll love it, oh, it was great, and then they'll come in the next time and they'll say, hey, I smoked a great cigar the last time I was here, and then they'll ask you and they say, and you'll say, what cigar was it? And they're like, oh, I don't remember.
Well, that's why we have a history,
Yeah,
customer account with a history,
right, that
so I can
helps.
look that up. So
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys at Smoke Rings do a great job with that, but you've got to remember, a lot of the average cigar shop doesn't do that, and so they're like, okay, well, they can't figure it out, and all right, well, just give me my regular cigar, whatever it is that they smoke, and they go right back to that. It's kind of like Coke and Pepsi when you go to a restaurant and you order soda. Which one you
yep,
have? Do you have Coke? Do you have Pepsi? That's what they order. But it's pretty much the same in cigar shops. I mean, known brands rule the market, and if you go out there and you work your brands and you get to people to know them, and it's a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time, and I really admire the people that have gone out there and they've really crushed it for a long time. I mean, this is not something that happens overnight. There's that saying about if you want to have $1 million in the cigar business, you better start off with two.
yep.
because everybody thinks it's easy, or you just make a cigar and all of a sudden it's going to be a big hit. That doesn't happen. You have to be consistent. You have to be out there all the time. You have to be grinding, and you have to get the cigar in people's hands, and it is not easy, because pretty
Absolutely.
much, as the humidor, and every humidor that's out there, it's filled with good cigars. So
Absolutely.
and what's the difference from one cigar to the next, and why is somebody going to pick up your cigar over somebody else's cigar? You know.
Exactly. That's the question because, with so much competition out there, really you're selling yourself. Is the person selling the cigar? Like, you've built that trust with people and they start to trust you. And that's really that main factor, because they can choose any cigar. You can choose any cigar for them. But on this night, on this day, this is what you need to smoke. And then
Well,
that trust
listen,
comes into play.
the biggest compliment to anybody that works at a cigar shop, when somebody comes in, and the best compliment they could give to the person's working at the shop is somebody will come in and say to you, "Okay, Mike, what am I smoking today?"
Absolutely.
That's
I never take
that's
that
because they,
lightly.
yeah, that means that they trust you, and what everything that you've recommended to them up until that point was a good choice for them.
Absolutely. Now, as a rep, you're on the road and everything. Do you just work the state of Florida? I think we had a conversation, and you say you work like have a big territory.
Yeah, I work Florida. I work New York, the metro area in New York. I do have connections in Puerto Rico also. I don't go to Puerto Rico as much as I used to, because the amount of actual shops in Puerto Rico are,
It's
few
kind of
and
spread out.
far. Yeah, they're kind of spread out, and it's not the cheapest place to go. Also, so yeah, it has to be kind of worked out as financially to be able to go to places like that on a regular basis, and it's not really cost effective. But when you have relationships with people, they'll buy from you because of your reputation.
Oh, absolutely. Now, do you have a lot of shops? Is there a lot of shops in Puerto Rico that carry your brands?
Right now, no, because honestly speaking, in Puerto Rico itself, I there's good number of shops that sell cigars, but they usually buy them from wholesalers. As far as premium shops that buy directly from people, there's not too many. Most of them are in the actual San Juan area, and there's few spread out through the West Coast and the South, and Ponce area of Puerto Rico, but there's most of the business is in the metropolitan San Juan area.
Oh, absolutely. That's cool. That's interesting. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the Puerto Rico market, but it's interesting to really hear that perspective.
I
So
mean, there's a huge tobacco and cigar culture, and that originated from Puerto Rico and stuff, but it almost seemed to have, not, I don't want to say died out, but it's there's not much tobacco growing, and a big influence in Puerto Rico. I mean, you get there's a certain group of Puerto Ricans that either from Dominican or Cuban descent that smoke on a regular basis, with some Puerto Ricans also, and but from there on, it's a lot of tourists also.
oh yeah, I know a couple ladies of the Leaf that they're really big cigar smokers and they represent Puerto Rico very well. Shouts out to Cynthia Gonzalez and what's the other ladies? I'm sorry. Can't think of her name, but I got mad luck. I met Cynthia in person. She's an awesome lady of the Leaf. She's a flight attendant, so she gets all over the country. So
Ah.
and she's also she worked for Huma Latino magazine. I think that's the name of the magazine. Doing pairings and stuff like that. So like she knows her stuff. So there's definitely a culture in Puerto Rico for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And you probably need to. I'll remember who the other lady is at the craziest moment. I'll get you their info so you can reach out to them to see if they can help you drum up something out there to, do like a multi-vendor event or something like that, because they really do their thing. So
Oh, okay. Thank you.
what's your favorite market to visit? Because you're on the road a lot. You visit shops and everything. Like, what is your absolute favorite market?
I'm gonna, every, even in every state, every area in this country is completely different. The markets are completely different. Even in the state of Florida, I mean, Miami is completely different than Jacksonville. Pensacola and Sarasota are complete opposites. As far as a favorite market, oh God, I mean, I love the family and the warmth down in Miami and the southeast section of Florida. The energy is great there, but also along with just like with anything good, you have something bad. So along with that is the competition and the the rivalry, I'll call it, of tobacco shops
Yeah.
down there also. Those are good, but your favorite is where people make you feel at home. And honestly speaking, you guys you guys make me feel at home. I love Cigars on the Avenue. I love Old Times. Maduro out in Sarasota is a wonderful shop. I mean, down in Miami, I love Billy Singer and Smoke Shop too. I mean, he treats me like family. There's so many people down in Miami that when you go there, they before you get to business, you have to talk. How's everything? How's family? How's friends? How's so and
Yeah.
so? Before you can even talk business, you have to find out how everybody is first. Not only would they be insulted, but it's part of the way to do business.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the cigar business. It's one of the most old school forms of doing business. You got the relationships. Like whenever I know you're coming in, I'm like, oh yeah, Pedro's coming in today. It's gonna be a good day, even if it's slow on walk-ins to sell cigars. We'll at
That
least get to
doesn't
catch
matter.
up.
But any sale is a good sale,
Yeah,
And if sorry, I mean, now it's gotten to the thing where everybody's counting dollars and worried about this and worried about that, and how many cigars are we selling and how much is going. I mean, this is a personal business, and yeah, that's how you operate with your not only your customers but people that you associate with. I mean, it's personal. I mean, people go to smoke rings for a specific reason, because of the
yep,
service, because of you, because of Lou. They go there, they want to, not only you guys there, but who goes there and sits there and smokes cigars.
yep. But my whole point I was making was, the relationship aspect. Like when I know Pedro's coming in, we'll talk to some people, we'll catch up on things. Like it's the best part of the job, and it, Pedro, I'll get to introduce you to people, some of my people that I've introduced to some of your cigars, and
Hmm.
you get to see that the fruit of the labor that we do.
And
You know,
also, Mike, I got to hand it to you, man. You're one of the loyalest people over there to the customers and to Lou, the owner of the shop. I mean, I mentioned it to Lou the other day. I said, "Boy, you got a great guy there with Mike. There, he's a loyal employee, and he's loyal to your customers. So it's it's something that you don't see very often.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and stuff like that. When people say stuff like that, it's not just a compliment, but it reaches down into my soul and it keeps me going. And there's a reason why I have loyalty tattooed across my neck, because I'm a loyal person. Like especially to reps that I like to smoke their product. Like I'm gonna be loyal to them and make sure that I not just when you're there, but I'm pushing your products consistently. There's a lot of products I got to push, so
Oh yeah, yeah,
the people I
yeah.
got the most relationships with is the ones that I'm going to push their product consistently because I believe in it.
Exactly.
And when
Yeah.
and the cigars that you believe in are the ones that are going to move the most. That's with
Exactly.
anybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. No, that's the truth. I mean, it's for at least now. I don't know how much longer, but for at least now and in the past, it's always been a relationship driven business.
Oh, absolutely. And and there's people trying to speed things up and trying to take away the relationship aspect about it. You have so-called reps, with the big companies. They're not order takers. Yeah, they'll catch up and stuff like that, but they come in with their iPad and I mean, we try to do things the old school way. You just write out the order, write out the order, email it, whatever, however you got to do it, get the product, sell the product.
Well, Mike, what it is this, okay? And what happens, the companies get big and they go from the love of creating something, and the love of cigars, to profit driven companies. And then they hire a certain amount of people in marketing and management. And unfortunately, what happens there is that you get too many people justifying their existence, instead of actually out there creating a market and showing people, the beauty of cigar smoking, and the culture of tobacco, and the art form of creating a cigar. You go to, okay, well, we're here and here it is, and how many placements do you have, and how many cigars have you sold, and how much of a humidor did you take over, and it's changing. I sometimes I feel like me myself. I'm a dinosaur. I don't know if how long after I'm gone, if how much the industry, of course, and cigar shops will still exist, but I don't know how reps and cigar salesmen and things will continue, because now everything is money, 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 money.
Yeah. I mean,
I
money
mean,
makes the world go around. You need money, but at the same time, it's all about balance with everything.
yeah, yeah. Everything in life is balance, and of course, without making money, you can't survive, because how do you continue to produce and do something that you love without money, and that's 100% the truth. But I see it, getting away from the true passion and the true love of cigars.
Oh, absolutely. Now, being on the road a lot, you know, you're staying at hotels, staying at restaurants. Do you have any favorite restaurants that you've encountered along the way?
I'm a simple guy. I've always eaten in very fine restaurants throughout my career, throughout my life. Top restaurants, Michelin star restaurants. I like simple, good food. Okay. And me and Abo, we used to travel together a lot. And we always used to say that, we, instead of having a great steak somewhere, we'd like to go somewhere and have a nice piece of chicken and rice and beans. And as long as it was good, and I like to go to the same places, because you get treated properly. When I go to the same hotels, I go to the same restaurants all over, and when I find something good, I stick with it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm kind of the same way. I have connections with different restaurants, and I like to do business with people that I know and they know me, because it just becomes it becomes a simpler transaction. Less bullshit that you got to deal with. You know what you're getting, et cetera, et cetera. So
Exactly. And what if you go to some place and the food is good and it doesn't change over time and the service is good, I'm not going to switch. I'm not going to try something else that may be, as opposed to going to some place that I know for sure. And I mean, every so often I'll try something else, to see if it's good. And it's usually a 50-50. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's just okay, and a lot of times, unfortunately, it's pretty bad.
yeah, and that's when you're like, okay, I'm gonna stick to what I know, and what I know is gonna be good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could do that with cigars also, but I don't think that there are many bad cigars produced. Okay, for at a certain price point. I think it's just whether or not what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about cigar markets. We kind of got into a rabbit hole. Is there a cigar market that you don't particularly enjoy visiting as much. I don't want, I don't want you to get phone calls, whatever. But there's certain markets you go like, oh, I got to go here, because
Well, usually that it's when you have a lot of windshield time, when you have to drive far and a long time and very few accounts in between, where it's not how would you say the best market where you sell the most, but then also it's also that you're driving a lot. So the panhandle's always been difficult. Everybody in the area always knows that the panhandle is pretty difficult,
yeah. I mean, there's a few pretty good, decent shops. Like I know in Tallahassee, there's a few pretty good shops. Um, and then you got Panama City. There's a few. I don't know exactly how many. I just know Peter Shaw. He's a pretty
Yeah,
well-known
yeah,
retailer up there.
there's a few here and there, but then again, depending on if somebody lives up there, then it's easy, and then it's easy to maintain. But what you'll find is that people that live down in Miami, that's also their lease, because in Miami you could spend weeks and not see the same shop uh,
Yeah,
twice, because there's so many shops and so many on on one actual street you can visit 4 or 5 different cigar shops. Do you always sell the most and those shops? No, you sell a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, but it's everything adds up. Whereas and you have a lot more foot traffic down in Miami than you do up in the Panhandle. There's way less people, but you have a good cigar smokers up there, and quite a few decent shops up there that make good representation. But
oh
of
yeah,
course, you don't have the same market. Lou always complains about that, because he's in Merritt Island. He doesn't have the business that Cigars in the Avenue has in Winter Park,
yeah.
just
I
for
mean,
the
it's
sheer
all
amount.
relative, and for our area, we do pretty good.
No, you guys do fantastic, for the area, but the population is much less there than somewhere else. I mean, a place like New York City, Manhattan, all these cigar shops used to be in Manhattan at one point, and now it's almost like it's all the surrounding boroughs in New York City, where you got Queens, you got Brooklyn, you go out to Long Island, Staten Island. There's plenty of shops now where at one time they didn't even exist. Even in the
Yeah,
Bronx, they're great shops, and now in Manhattan, it's almost like there's not much of a market. And it's a shame. And what's driving that out is the rents. I mean, 50, 70, $100,000 a month. You have to sell $200,000 in product a month just to pay the rent, not
yeah.
including salaries and stuff. In some places, so it's pretty difficult. Whereas if you go up in the Panhandle, the rents are a lot cheaper. You know.
Oh yeah. And the thing about New York City though too, they got the laws where, they got high tax, it's a high tax state. And then they also have it to where, the shops that are there are grandfathered in, but they can't sell the shop. If the owner dies, they can't transfer it to somebody else.
No, yeah, that's a difficulty right there with that. So, there's uh it almost seems like nowadays, it's harder and harder to smoke a cigar, but it's easier to smoke marijuana anyway.
I know that's what somebody was talking about. I saw somebody talking about that online, and they were like, you can't smoke a cigar, but you walk down the street, it smells like marijuana.
Yeah, everywhere. Well, I have a story that I always remember. I was walking on Madison Avenue. I was getting close to the Davidoff store, and some guy came out smoking a cigar from the Davidoff store, and it was winter time. It was cool, so he took a puff of the cigar, and the smoke didn't go straight back. It went up in the air. It rise because it was cool out, and the lady's walking behind him, and she. It was funny because she made that like, oh, and waving a hand in front of her face like she couldn't take the cigar smoke out in the open, a natural product. And then the diesel bus on Madison Avenue went by and blew diesel smoke in front of her face. But she didn't. She didn't complain about that.
funny how that happens. I've seen somebody walk into, a cigar shop that had like a back entrance, and they weren't even like going to the cigar shop. They just were going through the back to go out the front, and they were covering their face. And I'm like, and I was like, do you really understand what you're doing right now? You're covering you walk through a cigar shop, but you're covering your face. And I'm like, you chose to be in this environment. It's like it's crazy. But sometimes there's
It's
not a lot of logic with people.
no, it's not a lot of logic. People sometimes it's a mentality. Honestly, it's a mentality, and it's like, oh, that's bad for you. You can't, but yet they'll go out and they'll eat, uh, horrible food and uh, bad, sweets and sugar and everything, and pound that down. But tobacco is bad for you.
Yeah. Oh well.
Listen, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Now we're getting towards the end of the show here, but I like to, see if people want to drop it. If you want to drop any last gems, of stuff that you might want to get out there before we get off the show recording. So
Listen, I'd like to thank all the people that support the industry, that support the brick and mortar locations that are have a difficulty maintaining their presence, because nowadays, with between taxes and regulations and all the rules and everything that's out there, I mean, listen, you could buy everything cheaper online nowadays, and from wholesalers and stuff, but you cannot get the true experience of smoking a cigar and meeting somebody that loves it like yourself, that has an incredible passion for it, unless you go to a brick and mortar cigar shop, an actual brick and mortar, not a vape store, even though there's some very good vape stores that concentrate on cigars also. I mean, not just because they carry it, because they have to, and but who have an interest in it. I mean, those are good also. But you know what? To go to a true brick and mortar cigar lounge, that they cater to you, that they're there to create an experience for you guys, to come in and smoke and enjoy a cigar and have an experience and socialize. It's it's something that's an unforgettable experience, and
oh, absolutely.
I really like to thank the people that do that for us, and they're out there keeping cigar smoking and the cigar industry and the passion for smoking alive.
Absolutely. And I've seen so many connections being made through cigar lounges. That's a place where you get connections. If you need something, like there's people will be willing to help you. You're in a certain business, you need this service, you need that service. Like I've seen people get lawyers in the cigar shop. They need a lawyer. Well, there's a lawyer that goes there. I've even been a witness that had to sign paperwork just because I was around. So
No, you
it
do.
is what it
You guys
is.
do a great job at smoke rings. And again, thank you for everything that you do, not only for the for me, but for the industry. And keep it going, man. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that has been our show. I usually try to keep it an hour, maybe less. So for everybody out there watching, thank you guys so much for continuing to support the show. If you're watching, if this is your first time watching the show, hit that like button, leave comments. You're gonna see the shorts going out and everything. So share it and yeah, Pedro, I appreciate you for being a guest. I'll let you know when we're not recording so we can talk that real shit.